But it sort of set up that whole period from October through January where we just weren't playing for the lights, the pitch, or whatever it was, and that must have been a nightmare to manage.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, I've been doing football in some level because you're faced with much the same problems, whatever the level. I've probably been doing it 20 years, 15 years plus at least, and this would have been the hardest in terms of things other than football. This would have head and shoulders been the hardest season I've had, and
the frustrating thing is it wasn't until the Falsham game where the referee wouldn't let go ahead. He managed to keep the squad together till then. It was only then when we had people leaving because they were just cheesed off. We kept it together quite well.
As a group, I think we all knew what we were capable of, and we'd all committed from pre-season. We'd all bought into each other and to trying to do the best we could. So I think everyone was reluctant to give it up. I think, and I remember we had a couple of pretty extraordinary meetings where as a group, we're kind of talking about, should we go on? Like, where's the line of what we're going to tolerate and what we're going to do if we go the wrong side of that line. So again, all very unusual conversations to be having, but most people were saying we want to carry on. Like, why do we want to risk points? So, there was talk about boycotting games, for example. But ultimately, I think most of the boys were saying, but we're only shooting ourselves in the foot because we want to do the best we can for each other and for the club and for the badge. And if we don't turn up to a game to prove a point, well, we're going to get 3 points plus whatever else the league chose to do. So yeah, I think everyone wanted to stick it out, and predominantly they did. Yeah, I think obviously Sidge was the first one, but in fairness to him, he got offered on paper a very good opportunity by VCD, who ultimately have got promoted. Sidge was desperate to play Step 4, and VCD offered him what looked like a good opportunity. Didn't quite work out for him, as it turned out. But everyone else pretty much held firm until that Faversham midweeker where the sort of fast with the lights occurred. So yeah,
because after that, it was fairly soon after we got things back together, and you had a couple of weeks where it was iffy, where you were trying to pull people, but then you actually got some decent players in, and it was like start again. But we had, like I said, roughly 5 games where it was awful, but then it clicked.
That's exactly what happened. We kind of from the Faversham postponement at our place, we then very quickly had a couple of very difficult away games. We had Whitstable and Faversham away, which at any time, you'd be pretty lucky to pick up too many points out of those 2 fixtures. As it was, I think psychologically we went into them probably not in the best frame of mind. It sounds like, look, I can't lie, they're the 2 best sides in the division. I know VCD had gone up, credit where it's due, but for me, Faversham and Whitstable were the 2 best sides.
Whitstable have proven it when the Vols.
But I think psychologically to lose 4-0 in both of those games, on top of everything else that was going on.
Well, they were strange 2 games though, because from memory, actually, we lost against Whitstable and we conceded 4, but we left that game and said, how would we concede? Did I miss something? Because that wasn't a 4-0 game. And then you've got the next one, which was Faversham, which is the one game all season where I've just you go hold your hands up and say, we got played off the park. Well done to them.
I think
they... It was like 2 extremes in those 2 games.
I think we looked, ironically, because we hadn't played a lot of football, we looked tired, I felt. They're big pitches. Both of them know how to use their home pitches to their advantage. And probably where we're a little bit rusty in terms of lack of fitness, probably mentally, probably not all in the best of places. I mean, I'll be honest, like the lead to the Faversham game particularly, there had been some major talk about whether that was going to be our last game together. So, and I'll give Faversham their dues. Once they got 2-0 up, they kind of started turning it on. And yeah, we I think if it had been a boxing match, we probably would have thrown the towel in and said, get us out of there. But credit to them on that one. And I think we did genuinely think, none of us wanted to pack it in, and we definitely didn't want to go out on a 4-0 loss, but yeah, that was the time when probably another 4 or 5 of the boys sort of reached their breaking point.
But after that, you managed to find some real diamonds just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, like you got Tom Jones, you got Keanu, Tom Penfold, you know, all these guys coming from nowhere.
Well, not necessarily coming from nowhere, but it's just, it wasn't actually, it was probably the next game. We went to Lid, and we already knew that a few of the boys had stepped away. But I still felt, actually, if I'm looking at the 11 that I felt were going to go to Lid, I thought we'll be okay. And bear in mind, Lid are fighting for their lives at the time, and had got some very experienced quality players as well. But then I just remember I was walking my dog, and I got a call from Rory. Well, it was a photo, and he said, "I've got a problem," and he just showed a photo of his knee, and it had literally swollen up like a balloon. He said, "I think it's where I've been," you know, he's obviously a roofer, so he said, "I think I've just been going at it too hard, kneeling on it, blah, 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 blah." So I was thinking, fuck, there's no, he was like, "I'll come along, but I'm just warning you." And I thought, shit. Suddenly it's like, got a hole in centre midfield now. I end up getting Jack Gallagher, which probably won't thank me for, end up doing it about 8 times. And then about 2 minutes later, I'm sort of walking with my dog speaking, fuck. And then I get another message from Heinzie to say he was out walking his dog and his knees locked up. And obviously Heinzie didn't play again for us. So from already realising we were a little bit depleted, we've then had to go to Lid with no time to, you know, I think I did reach out to Jamie, but at the time it was too short notice for him because he had a game. So we literally went to Lid, absolutely threadbare. 2 boys on the bench in Rory and Heinzie who couldn't even warm up. They were there as token gestures just so we just didn't look. And yeah, you know, even then I think we were winning. Feezy got sin-binned.
Yeah, that was the game where Reg was through on goal and missed. And then Festus was through and the ball just wouldn't sit down for him. Yeah. Both chances you could have scored and won it.
So that was probably the point when it was like, we're in a bit of trouble here. Because, you know, suddenly, whereas I think we'd been 14th in the league, but we've got 8 games in hand. Now it's like, well, now we're 16th in the league and we've only got 4 or 5. And not only that, but the teams at the bottom, you know, Lawswood were throwing a lot of money at the time at trying to get out of it. Snodland, I think, had changed management. They got the guys in that were at Holland and Blair. Had a good track record in the past year. And Lid, well, I could never really work out how Lid were in that sort of trouble in the first place. So all of these teams are like fighting for their lives, and you're thinking, I'll be honest, like you are thinking, you know, we've been talking about the playoffs. We might want to. So we.